Hello everyone and welcome back to this video. If you're new here, hi, my name is Una and welcome to my channel. I'm very sorry first of all that I didn't upload a video last week. I was just really busy and I had no time to film a video because I was just really busy. But now I'm here and I'm filming a video for you guys, so I hope you will enjoy today's video. So in today's video I'm going to talk about some book recommendations that I think you should read during the fall months. I know that it's almost November, but I still want to make this video because I have some good recommendations, I think. Probably a lot of books you've maybe already read, but I just wanted to still give you these recommendations to you guys. So I would say that we just get right into it. I'm going to divide the recommendations in between the genres I will tell you guys, so that's more helpful for you guys. I'm going to start with the more romance books. And the first book I'm going to talk about is a book I read this, I think not last year but the year before that. And I really enjoyed it. I had it on my table for a really long time, but I just didn't pick it up. And I finally did, and I was really glad I did it because I really loved it. And that is The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. This is a romance book. There are like I think two or one or more book, but I haven't read it. I only read this one. But it's, as you can see, a pretty short book and it reads very easily and quick. So yeah, so this book is about Vivienne, and she is a witch. And she just broke up with her ex, and while she was talking to her, I think her niece it is, or her friend, I'm sorry. So she's just like, she's a little bit heartbroken over a breakup, and she is just like goofing around, and she says she is about to curse him. But just not like in a real way, she just is laughing at it like, oh, I should curse him, you know? In that kind of way. But then a little bit later, the ex-boyfriend shows up to town. And there's some really weird things happening to him that he's like, what is going on? And when she's thinking about it, she thinks, oh, maybe I did do something. But not intentionally, you know? And there are also a lot of some other things going on in the town, because it's like a small town, magic small town with other witches. So yeah, a very easy book. It's a romance, it's witchy. I mean, it's perfect for the fall, if you know. So yeah, really recommend reading it. I also want to read the other book. I'll put it on the screen. I think it's called Curse. It's something with curse, but I'm not sure for the entire title. So yeah, really recommend reading this, especially for this time of the year. Then the next book is a book I read this year, and that is Bride by Ellie Hazelwood. So this is a paranormal romance. You could also classify it as a fantasy, but I don't think it's really a fantasy because you don't have a lot of world building, and it's just very light fantasy. So yeah, this is a very quick book. It's a very cute book also. So this book follows Misery, and she is the daughter of a very powerful vampire, and there is like a vendetta between the vampires and the werewolves. Obviously it's like Romeo and Juliet, you know, but I don't know, I'm just saying that. And to break this vendetta between the vampires and the werewolves, there has to be a marriage. So what is Misery going to do? She is going to marry a werewolf called Lo. He's the alpha of the pack, and he is like the ruler of the pack, the alpha, so he's like under control and does everything. So yeah, and there is a romance in it, but I thought the romance wasn't really the main thing, because there was also like a kind of a mystery going on in the book, because the friends of Misery is missing and you're going to go look for her. So I also thought it was really fun. That's not only the romance in it and the fantasy with the werewolves and the vampires, but also kind of the mystery that is involved in this book. I ate this book up. It reads very easily. I both love these characters. So yeah, I really recommend reading this, especially obviously during the fall, because like vampires, werewolves, down. Then for the next romance book, I don't know why, it's not necessarily a fall book, or if you think of it, you wouldn't maybe not necessarily put in the fall vibe, but I personally think it is. And that is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. This is a young adult romance book. Both, I think, I don't. This isn't a young adult, and this isn't. I think I will put it in the screen, so you probably will see it when I'm talking about it. So yeah, this is really unnecessary me saying this, but this is a young adult romance, and probably everyone heard of it. It's such a well-loved book, and as it should be. So this follows Liz, and Liz is a girl in university, in high school, and she just wants to have that cute romance, rom-com romance in her own life. She is in love with a guy. She has a crush on a guy called Michael, and she wants to get closer to him. And apparently, her next door neighbor Wes is very good friends with Michael, the guy. So she's going to try to get close to him, and there's going to get a lot of things. It's going to get a little bit of messy. But yeah, it's very cheesy, cute rom-com, and I really recommend reading it. I was giggling the whole time while I was reading it, so loved it. It's also pretty short, but yeah, really recommend reading it. And this year, the sequel came out. Nothing like the movies. So yeah, obviously you probably know what kind of happens in the first book, but still. Really recommend reading this. It's not necessarily a fall vibe, but I just love these books so much, and I love Lynn Painter writing. It's so easy to get into and very accessible for everyone. Even if your first language isn't English, it's very easy to get into and to understand everything. So yeah, the almost last romance book. Then the last romance book I'm going to talk about is Heartstopper by Alice Osman. I don't have the physical copy of it because I read it on my Kobo, but I read it I think last month in September, and I read it on one sitting. It's such a good book. It's like a graphic novel, and there was a second time I read a graphic novel, but it was so fun and so cute. It's also a young adult, and it may be a little bit cheesy. I know it is, but who doesn't love a little bit cheesy in her books? I mean, I think everyone kind of loves it sometimes. And this book really gives fall vibes, especially if you like see it with the leaves, and also when you look at the series on Netflix. So Heartstopper follows Nick and Charlie, and Charlie is openly gay in high school and Nick isn't. He is kind of discovering his sexuality and when he meets Charlie. So yeah, it's really cute, and I really loved how it's done. I've watched the first season of Heartstopper, but I definitely want to read the other books now and continue watching the series just because it's so cute. Then, for the next category, the next genre, I'm going to talk about mysteries. I'm not going to call it thrillers because there's like one maybe-ish thriller, but it's not really a thriller, I think. So I'm just going to call it mysteries. So the first one is The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I read this, actually I read it a long time ago, the first one. But this is a mystery, it's a YA mystery also, and it follows Avery, and all of a sudden she gets a mail that she is inheriting a huge amount of money from a guy called Tobias Haltern. She has never heard of him. She's like, why am I getting all of this money? I've never met the man. But there's one condition. There's one thing she has to do to get that money. She has to live for 1 year at the Haltern house, the Haltern mansion, with the other family members because they didn't inherit anything. There is a romance involved also in this. It's a murder romance mystery. Murder mystery. I don't know why I said that. So there's a lot of games in it, and riddles and mysteries that you try to solve along with the characters in the book. It is, I think, it's just single POV, just her POV and not anyone else's. But yeah, I really ate this book up. After I finished this one, I had to get immediately into the second one called The Final Gambit. This is a trilogy actually, so you have first Inheritance Games, and then you have The Final Gambit, and then you have At Last, no, I'm sorry, now, you have this one first, the Inheritance Games, then you have Halter Legacy, and then you have The Final Gambit. So this is the last book. But, so you have these three, and these are very quick books. I really love her writing. I also want to read The Naturals by Lynn Painter, because her writing is just so easy to get into. Also because it's YA, it just reads even faster. So if you're in for a very quick, easy, fun book, these are your options. I really recommend reading. There are also other books like The Brothers Hartron, and I think you have now The Games Untold. I'm not sure. They are in the same universe, I think. I just haven't read them yet. I want to, but I did hear some mixed opinions, so I'm a little bit putting it off. But I did read these three and I really loved it. So really recommend reading it this time of the year. Then the last book, actually already in the category, is like a comedy, thriller, mystery more. This is not really young adult, it's more like new adult, old adult. So yeah, this is called Listen for a Lie by Amy Tintera. I saw this book last year, I think, or maybe no, I think this year at the bookstore, and the cover intrigued me so much. I was like, and even more when I read the back of it. So this book follows Lucy, and her best friend was murdered right before she was going to get married. Lucy was the last person seen with her best friend, Savannah, I think her name is. I'm not sure. I think it's Savannah. I'm not sure. So everyone is like, who did it? And a lot of people in the small town think Lucy did it. But there's no evidence found that she has done it, so the case was closed and solved, unfortunately. After the drama was gone, Lucy moved to LA, I think, and she put it behind her until a podcaster called Ben Owens started a new season wanting to try to solve the murder of Savannah, her best friend. So he goes to the town. Her whole world, her whole life is flipped upside down because everyone is talking about the podcast. She goes back to her hometown and she's trying to solve with Ben Owens who murdered Savannah. So yeah, I really loved it. It was a really quick and fun read. It read very easily. So the book is divided in like, it's not two POVs, but because you have only Lucy POV, but it sometimes switches to the podcast, so you read that. But really good book. Some people found it predictable, I saw online, but I kind of knew, but also didn't know. But it's a funny thriller mystery read to read during the months. Okay, then the last genre is obviously fantasy. I think fantasy, alongside with thriller mysteries, is like the genre for the fall months, winter months, just because it's getting dark outside and it's so fun. I'm sorry if my voice is sometimes a little bit bad. I don't know what's going on. I think I just need to drink a little bit of water when I'm done filming. But yeah, I'm very excited. I've got a couple of books I wanted to show you. So let's get into it with the fantasy genre. So the first book, I didn't know where to put this because I'm not sure if it's really a fantasy, is categorized as a fantasy book. I think it's also like historical fiction, but I was like, it's kind of a fantasy, I think, so I'm going to put it there. And the first book I'm going to talk about is The Invisible Life of Ada LaRue by V. Schwab. This is such a good book. I love it, and I'm definitely going to read it again. I just have to say that immediately. I read this book a couple of years ago, I think. Nah, I think I read it last year. Yes, I read it last year. And I love this book so much. It is more of a slower book to get into. I just want to say that ahead because it is more of a slow book, but it is a very good book. And yeah, so what is this book about? You might want to know if you don't know already. So this book follows obviously Annie LaRue, and she makes a deal with someone so she can live forever. So this book is about Eddie, obviously, and she makes a deal where she can live forever, but there is a catch. Everyone forgets who she is. Hence the invisible life, you know. Until one day she meets a guy called Henry, and he does not forget her. So yeah, pretty interesting. So this book goes through the timeline of the now and the past when she made the deal. So you get to know why she made this deal and everything in her past life, because it's like in the, I'm going to take a look. The past was in 1740, and then the now is in 2014, I think. It switches a little bit, I think, through the timings, but yeah. It's like time traveling. No, it's not time traveling. I don't know why I said that. It's absolutely not time traveling. But it's such a good book, and it gives you kind of lessons, I think. Personally, I find it really interesting to read this, and I think it will be a classic one day. I'm pretty sure of it, because it's just such a good story, and the writing was so good. I didn't annotate it when I was reading it at the time, but I'm definitely want to reread it sometime and annotate it, because it's so beautifully written. And I think everyone should give this book a chance, especially now as it's I think historical fictions are a pretty great time, or like fantasy books for this time of the year. So if you've been putting this book off, take this as a reminder to start reading it now. So if you have this book, go pick it up, because you're missing out on something. So yeah, The Invisible Life of Annie LaRue, put it on your list. Then, the next book is a book probably everyone knows. I read it this year, and I'm still thinking about it, and I'm already wanting to reread. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably know what I'm talking about, because I posted an Instagram story saying I want to reread it already, and that is the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. These were my first Sarah J. Maas books, so I went fully in the Sarah J. Maas universe. I haven't read Equator yet. I want to. Give me a break. Okay, it's also a pretty long series with thick books, so yeah. But Throne of Glass is really a good series, fantasy series, and I think you should at least give it a try. It are 8 books, I know, it's quite a lot. 8 books is a lot, especially if you see that the books are getting thicker and thicker once you go on and on. But it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. Okay, so this book follows Selena Sarah. I'm not even going to try to pronounce her last name. But she's an assassin, and she is summoned to the castle where she is going to participate in a competition to become the assassin of the king. So this book mainly follows the competition and whether she will be the assassin for the king or not. You have a book before this, and that is The Assassin's Blade. This is a prequel to the whole series, and there's a lot of discussion on when you should read this book. I read it first, and I read after that Throne of the Glass, and I really enjoyed it. I followed the recommendation of Destiny Sitwell, and I trust her. So yeah, but there are also a lot of people who read it after Hair of Fire, I think, or before Hair of Fire. I'm not sure. You have to look it up, but I personally read The Assassin's Blade first. These are 3 stories, different stories, and where you follow along in Selena, her journey before this. So yeah, I think it is useful to read this book first and then this, but it's a personal choice. But if you were to take my advice, read Assassin's Blade and read damn Throne of Glass. So yeah, this follows is mainly, the whole series is about Selena. She's the main female character, and there are a lot of other characters introduced evolving in the series. It might sometimes get a little bit complicated. I personally think it is the best to read the series in one time, not in one sitting, because that would be a lot, but in one time, since there are a lot of characters introduced in a lot of books. So yeah, but I think it's really worth it. I really loved it and I really want to reread again, but I'm going to wait until next year, I think, because I have also a lot of other books I want to read, and since I already read this year, I think it's better if I read it next year. But yeah, really recommend reading it. I'm also very excited to read Equator because that's on my list also for especially this year or maybe next year, I'm not sure. But yeah, there is also a lot of people like, should you read Throne of Glass first or should you read Equator first? Yeah, I don't know. I just read this first because I saw everyone reading it and I was just so curious. I just had to read it and I'm very glad I did because this whole series is a 6-star series for me. I love it. I ate it up and I'm definitely rereading it again. So yeah, Throne of Glass series next. This is also a YA fantasy, I think, but I'm not sure because it evolves maybe a little bit more in not YA. To be honest, I don't know. I don't know. I will put it all on the screen if it's YA or adults. I don't know it out of my head. This is the last series, but if you have recommendations for fantasies that are in series, like more standalones or duologies, leave them down in the comments. But yeah, the last one is also a trilogy I read this year and I really loved it. I binge read these books. It's insane. And that is the Caraval trilogy by Stephanie Garber. This is a young adult fantasy books and they are so fun and I love them. I'm still thinking about them. It's so good. So yeah, I'm not going to really talk about these two books because if I would spoil a lot of things that happen in here. So, but there are 3 books. Yeah, first you have Caraval, then you have Legendary, and at last you have Finale. There are also like the spin-off series Once Upon a Broken Heart, or it's after that. I also want to read that, but I haven't. But yeah, so just so you know. But Caraval follows Scarlett and her sister Tella, and they have a very strict, bossy father, but they want to kind of escape that. And there is this thing in the Caraval going on, and they travel around the world, but they only go to a place once, and they come only, I think, once a year. I'm not sure anymore. And Scarlett has been writing letters to the boss of the Caraval, who is called Legend, asking to come to their town, like, hey, can you please come here? Because I want to visit it with my sister. So yeah, but there is a catch because you have to get invited to Caraval and that's why she is writing. And yeah, eventually they get go. But a lot of things happen, a lot of twists and turns, because there are 2 options for Caraval. Either you watch or either you play. So you have to choose if you play the game, play the Caraval, or just watch it. So yeah, this book follows, is mostly in a Scarlet POV, but it also switches a little bit to what Tella hers. So you get both of the sisters POV a little bit. There are also romance in this book. It reads very easily. I annotated this book quite a bit. That's insane. So yeah, I really loved it. It's a very page-turning book. You really want to know what's going to happen and what will happen. Definitely if you finish the book, you're like, I need to know now what's going to happen. So I was very glad because I got these in a box set, and I was very glad I had the other books already in my library, little library, so I just could immediately read the other books. So yeah, really recommend reading it. It's very addictive. I think Stephanie Gardner put something in these books, because damn, these books read fast. So yeah, but really enjoyed reading these books, and I think it's a perfect time for the fall. So that were all the books I think you should read during the month of, just during the fall months, even the winter months. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you got some new recommendations, or maybe got some more inspiration to read the books you already have on your shelf. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. If you made it this far in the video, leave down below a leaf emoji from like, so just a leaf emoji. That's cute. Follow, you know. I hope you enjoyed. I see you next time, and enjoy your weekend. Bye!